to Stanislaus, Ag Commissioner's Office, to Anna, for giving us the opportunity to come up here. I'm Doug Forte with Kellogg Supply down in Merced. And our basic background is that we do a lot of spray equipment down there. We're the largest PBM equipment dealer that they have as far as sprayers are concerned. I can't keep them in stock right now. There's so many of them going out this year. Thank goodness we have rain. I've seen a lot of bloom going on when we were coming up here. Down in our area, we're starting to see a lot of bloom. But here a few years ago, you know, I know you gentlemen, I don't know where it all comes from, but somebody shows up out there and they ask you for your closed system. And if you're like the rest of us, you know, it's like the deer in the headlight look. And so I would have people, growers, coming into me going, Doug, I need a closed system. And I'd look at them and say, me too. There just wasn't anything out there. There was the chem probes, and you know, they did kind of work. But as far as meeting the criteria, we have to understand here, it's meeting the criteria. There's nothing approved by DPR. It just has to meet a certain criteria that DPR has set for what a closed system is. So we kind of looked at it because about 3 or 4 years ago, a company called Goat Throat, they're back east, they're manufactured back east, came to California and said, hey, we've got a closed system. They went to DPR. DPR said, yep, that works. It meets the criteria. And so we said, great. Okay, so now we have something, if a grower comes in, that meets the criteria. So if your advisors or the Ag Commissioner comes out and does an inspection and you don't have something, at least we have something that we can give to you. Well, they came out with a Goat Throat. Now, unfortunately, I'm still waiting for the person that borrowed my laptop to return it, that had all of my PowerPoint on it. So please excuse me. I kind of threw something together last night so we'd have a bigger, but I don't have anything for Goat Throat. They're not really great on giving me information. But I set this Goat Throat system up for those that are interested. I'll show you later if you're sitting far in the back. And basically what you have, they came out with was their main focus in the industry is automotive fluids for transferring out of a 55-gallon drum or whatever the case may be in plants. And they said, well, we have this great little pump. Let's just put Viton seals in it. We can attach it to the top of your 2.5-gallon container. And what we're going to do is we're going to pressurize the container and force the material out. And then they designed this graduated, it's basically a clear tubing, heavy wall clear tubing, that you can pump it up, pull the sleeve, and you can get the number of ounces out. Well, it gets into a really kind of convoluted, you're talking about, Harvard was talking about instructions. We'd have to have them on the back side of this. You take this loose. These are all little closed couplers. You got to hold this up. You got to let it drain into your mix tank. Okay, now you have 8 ounces. Okay, so you have to keep track of that. And then when you're all done, you have to have fresh water. You go back through, clean it all up. Yes, did it meet criteria? It did. If they came out and they inspected you and you had that unit sitting there, technically you did pass. Life was good. But if it was you out there mixing it, me selling it to you, I would not feel too bad, at least. But when you have 3 or 4 or 5 guys that they have to learn how to use it, it's really a kind of a convoluted system to get 8 ounces. And then if you got to get more than 8 ounces, somebody's got to keep track of every time that tube's lifted up and you drained in there, and now they're standing there talking or whatever, and it was at 6, I think it was 7, and you don't know. So the jugs are pressurized. They do have a relief on them. You can't over pressurize your jugs, so you're not worried about the blast pitcher that Harvard had up there. And I have sold a few of them. So, but what it did for the state of California, it put everybody else on notice, saying, okay, if you want a piece of this pie, we're going to have to do something. So it sent everybody scurrying to figure out what they were going to do. Well, Banjo came along, and then Big W, and it's kind of combined here. This is what, for those of you up in this area, you're familiar with Big W. Big W puts this out. Okay, this particular unit works great. It really does. But one of the things that we come to realize is that with this particular unit, you're using the Banjo coupler. And when you see at the top up there, you see this piece right here. Okay, this screws onto your jug. This screws on, and that's what you're seeing in the top of this lid, and that's what you're seeing right here. Well, the problem is that now you've got to put that whole 2.5 gallon jug, you've got to dump the whole thing into your reservoir. Okay? And then from there, you're running off a venturi on the bottom, so and they're all designed to run off like of a 2-inch pump, and a venturi, as you're filling your sprayer, you crack open the valve right here, and then you can draw down the ounces that you want. Fantastic. It works. I've sold a lot of these units. But understand one thing. You have a complete unit that's full of product. Okay? So if you're not using all of the product in that particular reservoir today, this unit is dedicated now to that product until it's all gone. It has, on the side here, you can see it up here, you're able to draw off of your supply to rinse your container. It dumps into there and then obviously goes into your spray mix at the last load, so to speak. So they came up with this, and I have got growers out there that have 3 or 4 of these on a mix containment area where they bring in their systems, and they'll pull out so many ounces out of this one and so many ounces out of the next one, and they're all set up. But that unit is dedicated to that particular chemical till you can wash it out, clean it out, and use something else. As I move forward, I'll kind of give you an idea. Don't shoot the messenger on this, okay? I'm the retailer. I'm not the guy that designed them. Understand, after talking to DPR for over the last few years, is the EPA sitting out there going, we're not really going to do anything for the rest of the nation until California gets it figured out. So thank you for everybody for being the guinea pigs of how we're going to get this figured out so the rest of the nation. Well, whenever a manufacturer looks at it, they're going, well, wait a minute. How much money are we going to invest in developing something that right now only has a finite number of people that are going to buy it? Because in the manufacturing business, the mold to produce just this little black part is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000 or better. Okay, that's just this part. So, and obviously, when you start talking about a multitude of fittings, it gets expensive. So they weren't really excited about going out there and developing something. But they wanted to get in on it because there is rumors that EPA is going to eventually, whoever gets the best mousetrap, is going to go nationwide. So anyway, the goat throat system, if you want to just buy that pump, and like I said, once you pierce that container, that pump is on that container until you use everything in it and clean it out, is $575. And it doesn't come with none of this. It just comes with the pump. It doesn't come with all the little quick, close dry brakes on it or anything. So, you know, I kind of swallow hard when somebody comes in and they said, how much is that? And I step back so I make sure I'm out of arm's length. So, yeah, and then this particular unit from Big W, you're looking at about $900, $950 for this. Okay, for this unit. So, this is what we had. In a little bit, we'll go outside and we'll look at a unit that I have on my trailer. And it was produced by PBM, who produces some great equipment. Let's see if my remote will work here. then oh, this has probably been out about 8 or 9 months. Steve from Hypro came to us and said, what are we going to do? I said, I don't know, but I said, whatever we do, we need to do something where these growers can take a container and they only need half a gallon, they only mix in a 100-gallon tank or whatever the case may be, 1 gallon, that they can dump that 1 gallon out of that 2.5-gallon container, reseal it, set it back on the shelf. And so Steve came to us and he said, I've got this. And he brought to us a prototype which was probably about this big. And I put a 2.5-gallon container in it, and I put a 64-ounce measuring jug in there, and I told him to stick his hands through there, and I said, and there's a rinse deal in there. I said, now measure me out. And he goes, oh, this ain't going to work. I said, no, it's not. So they came out with a much larger box, and that's what you see over here on the end. To me, if you're having to mix partial containers, and I don't care if it's a 1-gallon container, 2.5-gallon container, whatever the case may be, as far as I'm concerned, Hypro has developed a pretty nice little unit. What happens here, again, we're running off of a 2-inch pump. We're running off of Venturi on the bottom here. Your supply comes in, it goes through, but the nice thing about this is basically all you're doing, and again, I apologize for not having, but I'll be more than happy to show you. Here are our instructions right here. But you're able to stick your hands in this unit, you're able to open the jug up, you're able to pour it into your mixing container, close the jug back up, pour it right into the bottom of the box. It goes down into a Venturi, goes right into your sprayer. You have a rinse container in there, or a rinsing mechanism in there that you can push down. It rinses the inside of the box. All of that goes down and goes in. Once everything's rinsed, life is good. You can pull your hands out, open the glass back up, take your jug, go put it on the shelf. You're done. And this is all set up. One of the things that happens back in the Midwest, I'm seeing it more and more out here, but it hasn't really caught on. They run flanged fittings off the bottom instead of threaded fittings. I don't know if you bought any equipment from back in the Midwest, it's all running these flanged fittings, and it's just held on with a clamp. They're pretty trick. Especially if you have a valve right in the middle of a setup, you can actually pull the valve out. A little bit pricey, it's not all screwed together. But so there's a lot of different ways that the ends of this can be connected. And again, you're able to just come up into here. You're able to, with your freshwater supply, which is your pump, and it goes up in and swirls around, and it actually has a spray nozzle inside, so if you are finished with your 2.5-gallon jug, you can turn it over the top of it, push it down, and it sprays the inside of the jug and washes it out. If you want to mix a full 2.5-gallon container, dump it in and go. We build a 10-tin nurse tank, and we are actually mounting this unit on the front of the tank, on the front of the trailer itself. So you would be able to use the water right out of and it's a one complete unit set up. So that's as best as we've seen so far as being able to do something that if you want a partial load, partial container load, that's what I'm saying. Because up to this point, there really just hasn't been anything out there that you could mix a portion of ounces out of a jug. This addressed it. People look at it and they say, well, the gloves are this and that. Yeah, they are. We do carry replacement gloves. It's just like anything else. We carry replacement plexiglass, even though we had the prototype from Hypro for 2 years and had it out in the sun and didn't have too big an issue with it. But other than that, and this particular unit, let me grab my cheat sheet here. I think this particular unit is about $1,400, as you see here. Again, folks, understand these guys, they're manufacturing this stuff for a very limited audience. So, and we're, just like everything else in California, we're paying the price for it. But these are available. We've got 2 or 3 of them. The one thing about, I was talking to a gentleman in between Harvard, and he asked me, he says, well, we mix up 1,100 gallons at a time. We just use the whole 2.5 gallons container. I don't need to use a half a container or a partial container. Well, then that's fantastic, because if you do it that way, we sell just the Hypro. You can buy just the Hypro. Big W sells them. I'm sure there's some other suppliers here up in the area that you can buy the 2 pieces of banjo. And what I have a lot of growers down in Fireball, down on the west side out of Fresno, that I sell these to, and all they basically do is they take the top of their nurse tank or whatever they're mixing it in. They come in, they buy a 2-inch bung fitting, drill a hole in the top, mount their bung fitting in the top of their tank. They'll take this particular piece, they'll mount it on the top of that tank, drop this on it, screw it down. It drops the complete 2.5 gallon container down into that tank, or 1,000 gallons, whatever the case may be. The one caveat to it is you still have to rinse. Okay, so a lot of them will just buy a 15 or a 25 gallon spot sprayer, 12 volt. They'll hook it up to here. That gives them their fresh water to go in and rinse their container. And that is a closed system right there. About $200, you're done. If you have a spot sprayer, then you don't have to worry about that. If you need a spot sprayer, you'd have to buy that. But so that technically right there is a closed system. So if you're using the 2.5 gallon container and you're using it all, right there, cheap and easy, you're done, down and dirty, mix it, go. So I always, that's kind of why I qualify people. What are you doing? Are you using the whole 2.5 gallons? Well, let's see if we can't make this work for you, because this is the cheap way to do it. Now, there is one other system that just came out, and I just got this paperwork yesterday. So I've tried to see if there is an excellent video online. If you grabbed one of the pamphlets or the book, there's a number of copies over here of each one of the particular units that I'm talking about. But they just came out yesterday. I just got the information. It's called Easy Flow. From my understanding, it's been out. DPR has already, it meets DPR's criteria. What it does is you have the ability, let's see if I think I might have a picture of, put it on here. Like I said, this was quick and dirty last night, and I don't know. We'll go back to that one. Okay, this is the Easy Flow closed system. This is a new one that they just brought out. This is produced by a company overseas. And it's hard to see here, but what you're looking at, everybody goes, well, it looks just like a banjo, the one we just got through talking about. Well, technically it kind of is. You have a jug adapter, and then you have a tank adapter, and then if you look at your sheets, I think there's what they call wedge plates. Well, they've given you the ability to put it on a curved tank too with those spacers and stuff. But the nice thing about this, if you go to Easy Flow closed transfer systems, if you Google search it, they have a great YouTube. And it really does. I tried to steal it every which way but loose last night, but I didn't have my daughter at home to tell me how to do this YouTube stuff. So, but what happens is this particular unit right here is, again, as you can see it, it's mounted to the top of your tank. Okay, so with it mounted to the top of your tank, now you take the jug adapter and put it on, and you invert it. And so far it's all sounding just like banjo. You secure it onto the top of the tank. Now here's the difference. instead of it all dumping in, once that seal is broken, you still haven't dumped anything. And on the side of this, where you see this gentleman's hand right here, there's a handle. And you're able to turn that handle, and by turning that handle, you can now allow whatever you want out of that jug. So you can use a quarter jug, half jug, however many ounces. The thing is, you are kind of at the mercy of however they have it graduated on the side of the jug. And I was talking to a fellow earlier today, and he said, that's great. The unfortunate thing is they put their marks from the bottom up instead of from the top down, so trying to figure it out. But at least you can take this now and you can crank that open. You can let out what you want, close it up. It has the rinse on it that you can go up in, and once you shut that thing off, once you rinse it, it's only rinsing from here down. It's just rinsing out your coupler. It's not going back up into your jug, whereas with the banjo, it only rinses the jug adapter. So it's spraying water back up in your concentrate and diluting your concentrate. So that doesn't work. The nice thing about this one, and I haven't even seen this, I have some on order, but unless you leave that handle open, it only washes out your connector that goes onto your tank. If you leave the handle open once you've dumped everything, then it sprays up in and rinses the complete container out. This unit here, you're looking at about $400 for that. You're looking for $89 for your tank adapter. You're looking for at about $300 for the part that goes. Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. We can get online if you want to show.
Can you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Okay, so I'll send Nathan up and do
that. Yeah. Well, they said we can do online here. You guys have internet up here? No, I'm just kidding you. I'm just messing with you. So yeah, if we can get it online, it's a really nice video. It shows you exactly how it all works, and so they're gonna come up here and try and figure out how to do that. But after looking at the video, I watched it 2 or 3 times, and it answers that question of being able to draw a portion of a container out, because everything that we've talked about up to this point is that we're dumping everything. Or when you get back to the big W, you've got a $1,000 piece of equipment here that is dedicated to a chemical. And it's okay if you got thousands and thousands and thousands of acres and you have 4 of these things lined up and you're doing all of this at one time, but we're gonna be able to do that? No, that's no problem.
Your presentation.
Sure. I'm going to go back to play. Yeah, that's not a problem. We can do that.
I do have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
New at this.
No problem.
So the close, and it has to go back to the regs. When you're mixing 5 chemicals, one of them's powder, and you've got other things in there, the closed system only has to be used on the one marked danger and warning, right? If they're not any of those, then...
Tier 1. Tier 1.
Only the Tier 1 chemicals.
Yeah.
So if you have 5 chemicals going into a mix, you can put the others in first, and then, and you have to go in a specific sequence. I mean, how do you fix the closed one?
You know what? I'm going to...
And you're doing it in the dark and in the morning.
You need a headlamp. No, I'm going to tell you this because normally what I tell to people is because I'm not a PCA, and me giving you a recommendation on how and what to do with it is tough. You got a wettable. Do you have a fully soluble bag? Is that what you have that you're using?
Yeah, we have a powder that has to go in.
And it has to go in at a certain time, or a certain before or after, or?
I have to go back to the spray sheet to fix.
Yeah, see, that's kind of where we're at right now as to how it tells you what you're going to do. You ready? Go to Google and look up Easy Flow Closed Transfer System. Real quick. When we get outside, I mean, the wettable powders you can do with obviously with the Hypro unit, the box. When we get outside, the unit that we have sitting outside has got a 60-gallon inductor tank on it. That particular one you can also do with wettable powders. And so other than that, with a soluble bag. So now as far as Harvard was talking, yes, sir.
I've got 3 chemicals I want to put in that tank at a gallon apiece. I buy 3 different adapters, take that jug off and put the jugs on it.
Yes, in fact, what these guys, these people here have really kind of thought of everything. Like I said yesterday, I just got this. They have you can buy as many jug adapters as you want, or they have a kit which has a tank adapter and 3 jug adapters that come with it, and that's $589. The jug adapters by themselves, and you can buy as many as you want, they fit on there, they're $89. So yeah, you can use whatever you want, understanding that the jug adapter stays on the jug till it's empty. So how we doing?
Still working on it.
We're almost there. Okay, anybody have any other questions? Because as far as inside here, and closed systems for what I have, as far as what's available and stuff, we're kind of excited about this one. But again, you know, the tier 1, tier 2, the ones that are closed, that you require the closed system for, that's changing and stuff, so make sure that you talk to your advisors on that, you know, what is, what isn't. It gets extremely convoluted as far as, but it gets back to just what Harvard said, is that you have to read the label. And whenever they come into us having a closed system, you know, which one do I need? We try to qualify everybody as to for what they're needing and how they're going to apply it and how they're going to mix the stuff. For yourself, as far as the different chemicals are concerned, I don't really know all the different ones, but you know, when you look at it, are you just taking so many ounces out of a jug?
There's some of them we only use a few ounces, or some of them we use full, you know, 5 gallons.
Right.
But you never just put on one. You're mixing 5 to
Right. So technically, if you were to say have something like the Hypro, the box,
it'd be a pain in the neck.
why is that?
Because I'm out with a 2-inch water line in the dark at 3 in the morning. And, you know, we're hoping they're keeping their chemicals in a store trailer and then bringing them back out. And it's too much time and too much effort. This one sounds like it's...
If you, the biggest...
If you can put the pre-adapters on your 2.5-gallon jugs and let it sit, use half a jug, come back.
As long as, and that gets back to what we were talking, go ahead, I'm
I'm all
sorry.
about the speed. My guys have to take an hour between to load their tanks in between. That's nuts. If they're doing 5, you know, trying to get...
Yeah, your concern is the concern of probably 90% of these gentlemen are in here is how long does it take for those guys back there? And I understand when you're night spraying and stuff, exactly. The biggest issue that I see with what the road that you're going down is how critical of the number of ounces out of that jug are you needing? Because
it's easy to measure that. You just put water in an empty jug, turn it upside down, and start doing your marks in reverse and have that set up. I have no problem measuring out.
Okay.
That's not an issue.
Okay.
It's just time.
Okay. Well, and that might be the solution for you. That's where we got to qualify what you're doing and how fast you want to do it. When you have the nice thing about it is with LED lights out there and everything else that's going on today, the amount of power that it takes to have on a nurse tank, on a nurse system, and have something like this mounted on the front where you just throw a water-soluble bag in there, the guy pours some in it. I can't imagine that that whoever's doing your mixing can't have that tank loaded in 15 minutes or so.
There's a difference between having to have take 4 or 5 different chemicals and sort them through gear,
Sure.
versus having 4 chemicals laid out with the adapters already in the jugs.
Well, again, it's a personal preference. It's exactly what you're comfortable with and what you're doing. Questions about any of the systems that I have up here? Yes? You know what? I apologize. I'm going to have to step back here so I can hear you.
unload a thick flowable liquid, like a diuron, thick, like how long they gotta take empty and rinse?
Well, unfortunately, these guys don't give me viscosity. If you've got something like that where you're drawing it down through a venturi, is that what you're saying? How long?
Even on your system.
Right. Well. Now, see, the thing about this system is it's open flow. Now, I understand open flow and paint, two different things. This is going to be a ton different as far as flowing out and getting into your mix system than it is trying to pull it through a venturi, for sure. Because this literally is just free flow right into the top of your tank.
And now you're just going to hook a 12-volt system to it to rinse it.
Right.
How much pressure is that?
Well, on those little pumps, we have some of those little pumps that put out 60 psi. No, it goes through a fan inside that. Inside the rinse here is actually a fan that sprays up in there and splashes the whole inside of the tank or the jug. So, yeah, viscosity. It's unfortunately that's not one of the pieces of specs that they give us on viscosity flows. Anything else? Yes. Robert? Yeah, it meets criteria. Did I say approved? Oh, I didn't put that together. You're right. I thought I made that clear in the beginning. It meets a criteria. It's nothing approved by DPR. Thank you. So, how are we doing?
How much time do I get?
It's 2 minutes.
Is this the right one here?
Yeah. I think that is.
It won't come up.
It won't come up? Okay, well, they've got it really locked down, so we can't get it up as far as to be able to look at it on the screen. Any other questions as far as particular closed systems that I have inside here? I do have one other one. It's a closed system that PBM puts out. It's quite a system. I think probably if you've ever been to the farm show, you've probably seen it. This is the particular unit here that I have outside. They put it on a skid. I've sold a number of them on skids that they can be moved around. They're not attached to a nurse tank. The Goodwin box can be purchased separately. The stainless steel box itself right here, it's about $2,100. Okay, only 2 of you hit the floor. This particular unit, as you see it on my trailer sitting outside, is 40. I was going to ease that one in. That's $4,800. Okay, the nice thing when you talk to the boys is that you do have the ability to mix other things other than Tier 1, Tier 2. You can put in whatever you want here, mixing up your chemicals. This particular unit actually incorporates that 4,700, includes everything except for the trailer. But it draws water off. It gives you a 60-gallon inductor tank that you can actually mix your chemicals in. What this one is designed to do, Harvard actually talked about it, where you drop your jug down inside. It sits right here in this particular tray inside the box. You pull the handle on the side of the unit. Have any of you ever used a Goodwin box? No, okay. You pull the handle and it slices the jug open, and it dumps everything into the bottom of this stainless steel container. On the side of it, there is a sight gauge. But again, you now have a box, and then there's rinse. This particular, you see the little holes there, that you can rinse the inside of the container. But it gets back to the same issue that we started this whole thing with. Just like with this, just like with everything else. Now you have a system dedicated to one product that's in this box. So if you're using it all, and you're metering it out a little bit, I guess this system would be a great system to use. I've sold a number of them. But again, you're stuck. You have to use whatever product is in that box. Now, the nice thing about it is you were asking about wettable powders. You can open the top up here and drop your wettable powder soluble bags and stuff down inside of it, close it back up. And then it runs off, you've got a 2-inch bend, this one's got a flow jet pump on it, that for filling your rigs. And I have it outside. If you want to look at it, we'd be more than happy to show it to you. Unfortunately, the unit I had that had complete, I don't have anymore, I've sold it, to show you a working unit. But when you go out there and you look at it, believe me, it takes a little bit to kind of visualize where everything's flowing and what handles turned on and what handles turned off. You were talking about your guys having a problem at night and how long it was going to take them. There's a lot of handles on this thing. So, but this is outside. Be more than happy. We can walk out there when we're done here and take a look at it. So I have not seen the blueprints that are online. I know that I have seen a number of custom-made closed systems. Again, we get back to liability insurance. You get back to, do you have the instructions? One of the things is that each one of these particular things, except for this one and somebody borrowed it, they have the instructions. They have to be on the unit. Whether it's laminated and on a card hanging from it or it's stuck to the side of it. If you build your own, you have to have all of the instructions and how-tos and what-ifs and the maintenance and stuff on the side. I just tell you that straight up from the get-go. So I'm sure all of these particular units are available up here in Stanislaus County. We have them on display at the store. You're more than welcome to give us a holler. I have business cards over there. But that's kind of what we've got. That's kind of what's out there. However, is there anything else other than this that I'm not aware of? Yeah, this is basically it. These are your options as far as a closed mix system is concerned for the time being. So if you don't have any other questions, we'll go outside. I don't know, Anna, if, sure.
Thanks, Doug, for your presentation. We give